Max had always been a huge fan of tigers. He couldn't remember a time when the animal had not fascinated him. Sure, when he was a little kid, there were many animals that he took interest in. He could even recall a time when lions were actually his big cat of choice. Soon enough, however, he became absolutely obsessed with the animal, sure that he would do all that he could to learn more about them. As soon as his parents bought him a toy tiger cub, this was the moment that he became determined to learn all that he could about the majestic creature. For a few years, his parents were quite convinced that their son was simply going through a phase, as all children do. However, as the young boy entered school and made friends, he still refused to forget his passion for the wonderful animal. There were days that he would spend whole hours researching new developments in research and the efforts that charities were making to keep the tiger species safe. Instead of stagnating, his deep interest in the big cat only grew with time. There was even a day when he was given the opportunity to speak about his passion in front of the whole class, explaining to them the steps that had to be taken in order for the tiger species to see several more generations. If anything, this was his mission in life now, to ultimately show the world that these beautiful creatures deserved all the love possible and that society had to do their duty in protecting tigers, along with all other endangered species. Sure enough, his love for the animal did not end in childhood. Max was now a ranger working in India. It was the place that he had fantasized about visiting for so many years as a child. And now, finally, after so much time and waiting, he was able to realize his dream, pursuing what he knew was right. Of course, the young man had been extremely nervous about embarking on this journey. As much as he knew that this was what he wanted to do for the rest of his life, there was nothing that could stop him from wondering about the dangers. The big question was much greater. Did he know for sure that he would be able to make a difference? Max thought that he would never be able to get rid of these doubts and worries, but he could still relax somewhat, knowing that he was living the best life possible. No matter what, he had the chance to do what he loved. Work as a ranger was already everything that he had hoped it would be. Day to day, he was busy working closely with law enforcement, along with a team of vets that were responsible with nursing sick tigers back to health. More than anything, it was this that gave him great purpose, knowing that he was making a difference to the area and community. It didn't take him long to figure out that they all loved these creatures just as much as he did. One day, Max decided to use his day off work to explore the area a little more. Of course, he got to do plenty of exploring during his usual work, but he thought that it would be nice to see more of this place for himself. After all, there could be some natural wonders out here that he just hadn't seen yet. Who knows, maybe he would discover something amazing. Knowing that there was nothing much in the area surrounding the base camp, the young man decided to take one of the quad bikes out into the fields. As he revved the engine, nothing could stop him from feeling the sudden burst of energy. As much as these things terrified him to drive, he also seemed to feed off the adrenaline. Before long, Max had already made his way out into the world in front of him. No matter how fast he went, however, there didn't seem to be anything of note around here. It was quite incredible. Max had already been here for a few months and was absolutely certain that the area was teeming with animals. What happened here today? He felt his mind scramble as he tried to adapt to the changes all around him. Was he sure that he was seeing correctly? Surely there had to be some kind of mistake. In that moment, he could feel his confusion slowly shifting into concern. There had to be something wrong. For a few seconds, he considered calling back to camp to let the team know that there was something strange going on out here. He had timed everything correctly. This couldn't be a mistake, could it? Just as he brought his phone out of his side pocket, Max saw something that made him freeze still. He could barely believe it. The little animal was almost no different to the toy that had been given to him all those years ago. He had no idea where it had come from. He had been quite sure that there was nothing around him as he scanned the area. A part of him wanted to take the innocent creature back to base camp. He had always wanted to raise a tiger by himself. As soon as this thought crossed his mind, however, he became painfully aware that there were other factors here. Where was the mother? Surely a tiger as small as this shouldn't be out on its own unless there was something extremely wrong. As he looked into the creature's eyes, he couldn't see any suffering or distress. Straight away, the man had the impression that the tiger was quite unaware of what was going on. No matter how simple things seemed, however, he knew that he would likely have to act fast. What if the tiger cub was trying to tell him something? Before he could make his way closer to the animal, it had already started making its way back from where it came. Max knew that he had to follow. There had to be something more to this. He just knew it. He was spellbound by the creature's coat as it led him off into the expanse of the field. Max was so quick to follow on that he almost forgot the quad bike behind him. At that moment, he told himself not to worry, absolutely sure that he would be able to return soon enough. It didn't take long for Max and the little tiger to stumble across something quite unexpected. Although he was sure that the tiger cub would find a way to its mother somehow, Max had no idea that the adult tiger would be in such poor condition. He almost gasped as he saw the wonderful animal in such a state. As the tiger cub scampered to its mother's side, Max dropped down to his knees, desperate to find the cause of the great animal's suffering. In spite of all the training that he had had, there seemed to be nothing about the tiger's condition that stood out, nothing that would suggest any particular illness. He could feel the tension rising inside him already. As much as he was stressed, at least things started to make a bit more sense now. The baby tiger had been looking for help all along. "Come on," he said to himself as he racked his brain for ideas. There had to be something that he could do right now. Had he not learned anything from his time here? His desperation was quickly turning into panic now, well aware that he should have already acted far quicker. As fast as he could, Max took the bag from his back, rummaging through his supplies to see if there was anything that could help him with this situation. But no, there was nothing. He had left himself utterly unprepared for the situation. Why had he put himself in this mess? With his thoughts still racing at an alarming rate, he exchanged another glance with the tiger cub, knowing now that there was only one option left if he meant to do the right thing. As Max hauled the great tiger onto the quad bike, he felt as though all of his muscles were going to explode. Somehow, though, whether he was powered by the adrenaline or some other strange force of the universe, he was somehow able to collect the giant animal onto the back seats of the vehicle. After what felt like an eternity, he was finally ready to stand back and allow the tiger cub to clamber on board. Bizarrely, the little animal seemed quite content with everything that was going on here. Did it not know what was at stake? Brushing these thoughts to one side as he clambered into the front seat, Max set his mind to the task at hand. If he didn't get the sick animal back to base camp in time, he knew full well that the consequences could be massive. It was time to move. The way back was already far more tumultuous than his arrival into the field. Of course, there was the great weight of the tiger in the back, which made steering and handling the vehicle all the more of a nightmare. In fact, there were even moments that Alex feared that the bike would simply topple over, sending all three of them crashing into the ground. He was well aware of the fact that, if this happened, the entire mission would be a complete failure. There was no way that he could afford that to happen. No, he told himself firmly as he felt the doubt settle. There was no way that he was going to allow that. As he gained confidence behind the wheel, and knowing that there was plenty of pressure on him now, he felt himself become immersed in the challenge. This was the biggest test of his career, and he was determined to make the most of it. This was what he lived for. As the quad bike hurtled on towards their destination, Max was sure to check that the little tiger cub wasn't becoming distressed with the bumpy ride. The last thing that he needed right now was two sick animals to deal with. Luckily, the animal was in the exact same state as before, seemingly quite happy to be along for the ride. Beyond belief, the trio had been able to make it back to base camp. In Max's mind now, it was nothing short of a miracle that they had been able to get there all in one piece. Perhaps he really was lucky after all. As he dismounted from the quad bike, he could already see several of the staff at the base who were quite concerned. They seemed especially shocked by the fact that he was even here today. It was supposed to be Max's day off after all. It didn't take any exchange of words for them to see what had happened. Before long, there was a team of helpers who rushed to Max's aid, now equally desperate to ensure that he had the assistance he needed in hauling the massive tiger from the back of the bike. It felt like a lifetime had passed as Max sat waiting outside of the medical room. All the while, he kept the miniature tiger cub nestled in his arms, nervous, yet still confident that things would work out for both of them. Once again, he found himself looking into the eyes of the small creature, wondering if it could ever comprehend the gravity of what was happening here. Would it ever know how close it came to certain death? Max almost didn't want to reflect on the possibilities, the things that would have happened if he had never discovered the child. He tried to dismiss this as he became uneasy once again, knowing now that the tiger was safe now. Max knew better than to doubt the medical team at base camp. Before long, he was sure that the tiger's mother would be back to full health. The ranger and his new friend could barely contain their excitement as Max heard that the mother tiger was ready to be seen. He felt that he had been waiting far too long already. And once again, as soon as he laid eyes on the recovered animal, he was still astounded beyond belief. Straight away, he cast his mind back to how he had felt when he first saw the diseased tiger. There were so many worries running through his head, and now he was just thankful that everything had turned out well. As much as this brought him calm, this couldn't discount the fact that he had to be more careful in future, especially if he was to be trusted with future missions. How could he even hope to take on all of these challenges if he couldn't even get his equipment together? It just didn't make any sense. From that moment on, he was committed to doing all that he could to be prepared. There was nothing that could stand in his way now. As the medical team informed him that they would have to do a few more checks later on, Max was happy to walk towards the wonderful animal that he had helped save. As looked at the great tiger, he found it hard to imagine that only an hour before it had been in critical condition. Just as he thought this, the strangest thing happened. No longer willing to rest on the table, the large tiger slid off onto the ground, walking slowly towards Max. At first, he felt more nervous than ever before, certain that this wouldn't end well. In addition to the fact that he was cornered, he also knew that the rest of the team was on the other side of the base right now. Even if he screamed in their direction, there was absolutely no way that they would be able to reach him in time. He was surely doomed now. Even then, he wanted to call out to them, to let them know what was happening. But he never got the chance. Before he could even start to speak, the tiger had already huddled up close to him. Max could find no words to describe what was happening now. It was as though, now the great animal was healed, it found a place in its heart for the young ranger who had done so much to ensure its safety. As much as Max was awestruck by this, he still hadn't quite decided how to feel. Many emotions were swirling through his head as he caressed the tiger. Before long, the child had scampered across and joined the two of them as well. It was only as Max saw both of them again that he came to wish that he could keep them. He wasn't the only one who got to bear witness to the special moment. Soon enough, the rest of the team had made their way through into the room, equally amazed by what was unfolding before their eyes. The leading medical officer was first to comment on what he had seen, letting Max know that it was incredibly rare for a tiger to place such trust in someone, especially after such a short time knowing them. Months later, the two tigers would remain in Max's personal care. During this time, he was more than capable of making sure that they were in great health and had the ability to live the best lives that they could. Although it was difficult for him to say goodbye to his days as a ranger, he found that this was the best step that he could take right now. For the first time, he was able to help animals that truly trusted him. Of course, as the vet had said, it was so rare to gain the trust of a tiger, let alone a small family of them. In his heart, Max knew that he could not let this trust pass him by. From this, he now committed himself to learning as much as possible about the animals in his care, producing reports on their behavior and seeing how he could learn from the two amazing creatures as time went on. Of course, he would have loved to continue his work with the rest of the team, making sure that they had everything they needed to continue their own research. But now, somehow, he knew that he was doing the work that was exactly right for him. Nothing could beat going outside every day and seeing the two tigers' happy faces and brilliant colors. He was truly lucky to have this opportunity given to him. Who knew where this new adventure would take him? With that, we really hope that you enjoyed today's story and hope that you found it as intriguing as we did. We really believe that this story shows the power of curiosity. Whenever we go out into the world with hopes of discovering new things, this is always a great opportunity to find out more about ourselves and the world. Although you might not expect to stumble across a mighty tiger, there are still so many other Amazon things to see and find out about. With that being said, are there any incredible discoveries that you have made recently? Let us know in the comments. We hope that you have a great day and can't wait to see you next time.